educate yourself on stuff. Go to every teaching, every training that you can. Become well versed in this area. Know your contract in and out, and make sure that you are lining up with people that are going up, because that's the only way for you to continue to swim up that path too.
Today is episode 150. I have a special guest, someone I admire and I know is very well respected with everyone in the real estate community, especially here in Northeast Florida and growing throughout Florida. And we'll hear a little bit about that. And her mission daily goes beyond just marketing. She provides great value to many of the real estate agents each day. She not only coordinates training classes and conducts them, as well as sharing her knowledge and experience. I want to welcome someone who I respect greatly, and I think has a great influence here in Northeast Florida, Brit O'Donoghue with Landmark title to the show.
Hi.
Thank you, Brit. So it was episode 149. I had you and Kayla on.
Yeah.
So we're 101 episodes away. It's been, it's probably been about a year and a half now, I think, something like that.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep this hat on. It feels weird.
It's like summer.
But you've had a little bit. I know you had a son graduate high school, right?
I did.
This past couple weeks, and then you also had. So I don't know if it was recent, but your other son was just promoted in the Marine Corps.
He was promoted to corporal. He lives in Okinawa. When you see, he's my first, and so him leaving the nest, I was like, oh my gosh, Lord, hope I did this right. And he has a beautiful life in Japan. He loves it. He's just recently picked up beach volleyball, so that's his new hobby, and he's a corporal in the Marines, so oorah. Very proud of him. And then my second, he just graduated from Bishop Kenny. He's going to USF in the fall, and he's my entrepreneur. No military for him.
That's great. Now, how long has your son been in the Marine Corps now?
So he went 2020. As soon as he graduated.
So he's like 21 now, 22,
he's 21.
21?
God bless.
Excellent. Now, and one thing I if people don't already know it, obviously people that follow you and know that you're a single mom, and you have a couple other kids still in the nest, so to speak, there, because you do bond a lot with the, I call the single moms group. You do bond a lot with a lot of the agents that way, and building your relationship part of it. But one of the things I had on here, you book a pretty good schedule.
I do.
How do you juggle that with, because although your kids are not infants, they're in activities, they're doing this, they're doing that, and you're dealing with that, as well as, all the amazing things you're doing at Landmark.
Yeah, work-life balance. Whew. When you have to provide for your family, you just kind of do what you have to do. Over the past couple of years, I've started to learn how to balance things a little bit more. I would say with my job, I have an awesome boss who's also a single parent, so he totally understands and respects that world. Kids come first. So we just kind of evolve our schedule around that. They're heavily involved in my work as well, which I love. My senior, that just graduated, he's going to get his real estate license. So he loves this space. He goes and sits at some of the trainings. So it's just kind of merging all of them together. What you see is what you get. This is what I do 24/7, I guess. Right.
But I mean, have you noticed, obviously, well, if you want to give him, what's his name, the one you're talking about going
Hayden.
to Hayden.
Yeah.
Hayden's watching you do it. You got some other younger ones in the nest, but seeing their mom, as I put it, you are one of the most respected, but definitely one of the most known. But what the value you provide, and obviously they must sense, especially when you're doing your trainings or putting them on, that mom's running the show here.
They make fun of me, actually. There's nobody more humbling than twin 14-year-old preteens who also have a social media presence. They definitely keep you humble. No, I want my kids to feel comfortable in their own skin, and I hope that what they see their mom does is an inspiration that they can do whatever they want.
Right.
And they're all different facets of my personality. So each one's different. My daughter's recently done some public speaking, and that's just anything to kind of push them out there and show them what they can do. I hope that I'm a little bit of an influence in that area over their life.
Well, one of the things I wanted to tap into a little bit was, how things have evolved. You've been at Landmark a little over 3 years now, right?
Yeah.
And
Can't believe it.
yeah. And, what was the initial vision? I'm looking at your LinkedIn, and I see the word business development. Well, I know a lot of business development people, but no one's maybe not had the platform that David's obviously provided, which I think you've created. I mean, David's been, I put on here, what's it like to work for David Heekin?
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, obviously he's a visionary, and he's like, hey, yeah, that's like a good idea. Let's try it and see if it works type of attitude, which is refreshing.
Right.
Yeah. And the ideas you're bringing, but from what you guys first, before you even got hired, what he was telling, like kind of what he wanted you to do, to what you're actually doing today, how that evolved over the last 36 months.
So that's crazy. All of it evolved around COVID. Everybody's life, I think, just went nutso during COVID. Before I came on to Landmark, and I touched about this last time, I worked for a hedge fund, and it was a private hedge fund technology group, and we funded front-end financing for builders. And I worked in the Atlanta market, but lived here, so you get very innovative online. Now, Landmark got me during the COVID experience, and when I first started, they basically had to outsource marketing and wanted to bring it in, and they needed a marketing department. At that time, it was Nikki and David that kind of had grew the company together, and it was blowing up, and then the real estate market blew up, and then it was just, here we go. Taking that brand to the next level, what was a day in the life of the closing room? So we started with resurfacing the website and kind of what is title and showing that story. And then all of that kind of evolved from then getting in speaking with our real estate professionals on when the world changed, we had to adapt and change with it. I mean, we were doing crazy closings outside and COVID closings and people packing up everything and leaving states and in our yard or in our parking lot with like every animal they owned. We've had all kinds of animals in closings, making all these accommodations. And then just kind of staying up, in front of this. And then it just kind of evolved into that customer service side because we were growing, but we still wanted to have relationships with everybody. So we were able to take and create small teams, and we scaled it all the way down to where all of our agents had somebody that they could work with on the marketing side. I saw a company out of Atlanta with my old job, and they grew. They're the largest privately owned mortgage company based out of Atlanta. Their spokesperson now, because of their marketing department, is Kirby Smart. And they blew up just utilizing their marketing platform to get builder business. And so watching how that kind of happened was giving me kind of the same mindset with Landmark on how we could take our marketing arm. We were great at processing, great at customer service, great at the closing table. We also wanted to make sure that our marketing department was at that same level and could provide value to all of our real estate agents. And now it's just...
We'll talk about the training room in detail and what that's done, but obviously his vision of the corporate office, did he have that really before you got there, or just you as you got there and growth? Because it's been about a year now, right? You've been in that new building.
Yeah, so that was definitely a dream of his before. Honestly, David is such a high driving visionary. You just kind of have to just grab on and go with him. I work the same way in some aspects and don't, and so we can definitely go down a rabbit hole together. ADHD is not our friend, but it is. But yeah, that was a dream of his for a long time. And then when we got the building and kind of could see what they were making out of it, I was like, okay, here we go. This is how we're going to take it to the next level.
Because, I mean, in your return on investment, I'm sure you're David's looking at this. I think it's a great idea. I would be surprised that it didn't. But I mean, have you guys seen a true measure in the year now? You've got the training room. You're regularly using it, letting others use it, being the the center of attention, so to speak. You're bringing people in and out of the building, having his coffee bar and those type of things that he talked to me about in his episode. Have you seen that market? Percent. Let's say, what's the return?
Like return on investment.
Your return on investment, your market penetration. Based on the number. Obviously, I'm sure you guys are always measuring. How many homes are closing in the area? That obviously titles being done. What percentage are we getting?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously we have a business to run, and so that's important. But at the same aspect, education is huge too. So education is definitely one of the pillars at Landmark. David loves to educate people. He gives his cell phone out to everybody. If you work with him, you can call him 24/7, just like any other of the attorneys and staff members. We definitely are seeing where we get to bring everybody to us. It's so awesome having events there because I get to see folks that I don't always get to see, because it's great to do networking events and happy hours. Because of 75 hard, definitely, but I'm a little over happy hours right now, and I like to have that one-on-one interaction. So it's nice to see folks using our Realtor Lounge for Zoom calls with out-of-state buyers.
Right.
It's nice to see that we can offer all different aspects of training or allow brokerages to use our space to do educational stuff there. Same with our LO partners and vendor partners. We can do breakfast learns, lunch and learns. We can have big events like we've done with Real Producers. Our Breakfast of Champions that started 2 years ago, it's one of my favorite events that we do. And so I think that, yes, it definitely helps on the business side because we're casting a bigger net to bring people to us, and it allows for people that don't know anything about Landmark to get to see us on a whole nother level. We've got the foundation photos right there when you go in the training room, so people are like, oh, what's Landmark Foundation? We get to talk a little bit more about our community efforts, and then you get to see the staff. We're all one big jacked up family. We love each other. So you see us cutting up. It's such a great, I guess it's kind of like the Google of title, which I don't want to make it seem like we're this big grandiose company because we are small at heart. But we have a gym now, which I don't know if I want anybody to see me working out at the gym, but
that was one of his goals, to have the Peloton in there, and then get the wrap. That was what he wanted. He's
yeah.
Like, oh yeah, work out and then go get your wrap and go back to your desk.
Honestly, I'll tell you, when he says he's going to do something, he means it. And yeah, we have a couple Pelotons coming in. There's a whole weight machine in there, and what is one of those boxing things, which is
punching
good.
bags.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So if you're having a rough day on a problem file, you can just go.
Well, when he told me about it, I immediately was like, oh my God, that is so, brilliant. Not only for the people that are there, but when especially as a marketing person, when you're having to go to all these places and set up and, coordinate with their staff, and, you're never in your house, right? It's a lot easier to entertain at your house. It's different when
you're in your house.
Yeah.
And we've got the technology. Our IT guy, shout out to Randy, he is the best. And so we've got speakers in the ceiling. We've got Zoom capability. We've done a lot of stuff together there. Mic set up, TV screens, and every time we do something there, we go back and we take notes, and our whole team talks about, okay, how could we have done this better? What else do we need to provide? What are some other options? And since we got this guy that knows technology in and out, we're able to do a lot of cool things.
When you first got in there, I imagine you had some immediate ideas, as far as, trainings and so forth and stuff to do, and getting feedback from what, and then what you felt the agents needed, because you're providing value to them. What are some of the things you've discovered in the last year that, either just by hearing the agents talk or people coming to you directly going, oh my God, I didn't even think of that to add to our training schedule?
Yeah.
Or event schedule.
We recently did, so the last 2 days, which I was sad I had to miss because I was at our West Palm office, but we had a certified negotiations expert come in. He did an 8-hour, 2-day CE course that was just about, and I'm going to get downloaded on everything that happened, but, teaching agents that sales side of it, because if you're in real estate, I always say you're in sales. Like, it is what it is. I'm not a salesperson. Yes, you are. You're selling homes. And so just
everyone just sells differently.
Right. And I mean, I don't like to be a salesperson. I'm not your vacuum, go door to door person. I like to have relationships. And then from there, if you want to do business together, cool. But anyways, so we've had that. A lot of those classes, we've had a commercial lending come up a lot. People are very interested in the commercial side. So that's an area that we were like, oh, okay, this is something that we need to touch on. We have a 1031 exchange class coming up. We've done that a couple times. People really like that. There's
so the CE credit was kind of something you didn't initially visualize?
That much of like a 2-day kind of type. Okay, so this is like where people are going to come in, almost like a seminar type thing, like a workshop.
Yeah.
We were just doing 2-hour stuff, and didn't really like, that's something I didn't know if somebody would sit through that. And I have to stand up and walk around a lot, so and then some of these like panel style stuff that we've done, and then motivational speakers, so we can kind of tailor to all the things. We don't want it to be boring all the time. We want to have hot topics. We want to kind of change with what's going on with the market, stay fluid. Social media obviously is my jam, so anything and everything that we can do to help our agents in the world of social media, that's what I try to bring to the table.
We're going to flip into that in a minute, just to finish up as far, because I for the audience, the reason why I like to talk about the training room, because I think that whole concept that you have there, it gives the agents another venue.
Right.
I think it's neutral now. Some agents, it's kind of the feeling like, are you seeing agents that you didn't see before come in there? I know you guys hopefully maybe are somewhat trying to get a feel on that, if you're bringing in people that maybe weren't working with you before, type of thing, or at least coming over and taking advantage of the value add. What are some things that you haven't done yet that maybe you have some sort of vision or working on that you want to even do in the future, utilizing that space?
I don't want to tell you all my secrets. So, we have some stuff that's evolving right now. And the cool thing is that we can, not only do we have the space, but we have like space inside of the space. What I mean by that is all of those desks there, we can kind of play around with the room however we want. So we might be doing some more interactive stuff, because we can clear everything out of that room. I mean, we've had, and I think we're going to plan another one, like a self-defense class there. I mean, we can hold some things that are out of the box. Social media-wise, we're kind of coming up with some ideas, maybe a more interactive Reels class. When you're doing social media with so many different demographics, everybody's skill set's a little bit different.
Yes.
So you don't want to be so granular that some people are getting lost. So we try to do templated stuff, just like we did with TikTok. So we've got some ideas there. So I don't know, sky's the limit right now.
Yeah, it really is. In turning over to the social media part, and I know that you like doing, I know you've been putting out a lot of value, a lot of education in that field, but like you just said it, there's different people at different levels. And like, how do you really tell them this is for the beginner who probably isn't doing a reel right now versus, obviously someone who's already doing some reels that might want to pick up some tips and tricks, right? You're like, how do I gauge that class? Because you obviously want at least a reasonable number of people to show up, right?
Right. So I recently, the best is to get outside of your comfort zone. And yes, I do know a lot of folks in Northeast Florida. I've been working with them for a while. And so recently I did a class Tuesday of this week in West Palm. Totally different vibe. So didn't really know what to take in. We sold out at 55 people. And that was a good gauge for me because everybody's skill set down there was different. You're dealing with high dollar real estate. So they invest a lot of money into their marketing and a lot of times probably dump that off on somebody that they use. So I was trying to see like, okay, well, I have no idea. Here we go. I start off the class with just some stats because I think people need to see what this looks like and what areas penetrate more online than other areas. And some of that I'll dial back a little bit and then I will skim over it depending on. So I'll ask a couple questions and I'll be like, oh, okay. everybody's good here. You never know, because I try to keep the class interactive. People will raise their hands if they have questions. Feel comfortable. There's no stupid questions, because somebody that is in that 45 to 55 age bracket might not be well versed online or understand even what some of the terminology you use, but they've been selling the heck out of some real estate.
Right.
So I'm trying to teach the two together. They're old school sales. They went door knocking. They did this. They did that. And I'm like, okay, well, you can take all of that and put it into social media as well, and you can do it easy. Don't be so scared of it. So we'll just start there, and then we'll go right into the nitty gritty. I did chat GPT heavily this time. That is a wild animal in itself. It's a time saver, but it's not taking your job away from you. And so a lot of questions on that and how to utilize
How do you push it? You ask someone asks this, they just, because obviously it's out there, artificial intelligence. As they told us that everyone's going to start selling their houses online. Now they're not really talking about that. Now it's AI. It's going to take over, right? And how do you address that question?
So one thing that we use Chat GPT live together, so I can kind of show them how it works. And I had an agent that had a listing on Singer Island. It's a very prominent area in West Palm. And I asked him if I could use it. And so we typed in a listing description for it, and it was pulling stuff. And then he was like, oh, okay, well, it doesn't have that, and it doesn't have that. And I'm like, exactly. So this is to help with your writer's block or help you come up with content, because it can write video scripts. It can do all these things, but it's a tool. It doesn't take away your job. I had listened to a podcast, and they were talking about the wild world of Chat GPT and AI and how it was going to take over. And they was talking about CNET, which is a popular website to get technology information. You may, follow it online. It's kind of like BuzzFeed for technology. Anyways, they had AI write 70 different topics on different ways to use money and finance. Anyways, long story short, it was all wrong. They were talking about different things when it comes to HELOCs. That's not your area. So when I talk to agents about utilizing Chat GPT, please do not go on to Chat GPT and become a mortgage professional or a doctor. Instead, get with your vendor partners that are skilled and knowledgeable in their space. They do this day in and day out, and pop a TV or a camera right in front of them and do your video reels with them, and that will give you social media content, SEO content, closed caption it, boom, you're done. So it's a powerful tool, but it's not Bible. It's pulling data from 2020 and beyond, and if we know anything, looking at the real estate market, it has changed dramatically from 2020 to now. So that's kind of how I kind of scare them a little bit. Like, please proofread this.
Well, it takes a lot of the writer's cramp, whatever you want. If you want to create a really good template or your buyer seller's guide and make it sound professional, maybe you weren't an English major like me, you can go in there and, write a paragraph and then tell it to rewrite it and you want to prompt it. And all this stuff there's so much YouTube on this right now, because obviously a lot of the YouTubers took advantage of it, is from the educational piece to things. And there's something every day, to go in and just you tell it what you want to do and it will do it. But you have to read it.
Yeah, you can't just like copy and paste.
Yeah, I think I mentioned one time a couple months ago when I was dabbling with it I wanted to write a script for a short reel about VA loans, and it wasn't up to date with what the current VA stuff was, and it wasn't worded correctly. And I actually went, when I posted and I'm starting to read it, no. And I had to delete the post because it was incorrect. Now, I will say I took it with the new FHA rules, and I prompted it, said FHA is changing their MI rate and blah, blah, blah. And it actually wrote a paragraph and did a calculation example for me that I didn't even ask it to do. So because I prompted it. I told it what I wanted, and then it makes it look good. Makes you look good. Yeah. Right. But taking over real estate, I know, I think for the last decade, I thought housing, because Zillow was going to buy a house. It was just going to go through Zillow and buy a house online. No. That's not going to happen. I don't foresee it in the near future. Too many, as well as you guys know, in title. Every title's different, every loan's different, every customer's different, and every house is different.
Correct.
Different address. I jumped around here. Do you ever sit back and, because I looked at your LinkedIn and it said 3 years at Landmark, and I said, wow, And I look at, the involvement that Landmark do. I know some of the other titles are companies. I think the Landmark's raised the bar for a lot of the other title companies, especially in my opinion. This is my opinion. It's obviously no factual. Especially some of the small lawyer offices that want to do title as well, because I have noticed like the sense of urgency and responding. Because when I get a contract and it says, some small lawyer's office, I'm like, oh God, I'm not going to get the email back in 10 minutes like William Lee would send me back, right? Yeah, but I've noticed all of a sudden they are being more responsive. Oddly enough, I don't know. I just assuming that Landmark's raising a title, but because you're out there, you're out there. Do you realize how? Well, do you realize how much you're respected by a lot of business people? They tell me all the time they think you're brilliant.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
But you're as David has the way he runs his company. You're obviously the point person, face person, really for a lot of it, and you're creating waves, so to speak, in a positive way.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I'm humbled by you even saying any of that, because what David and the team has built, it makes my job easy in a lot of aspects, because what you see is what you get. Our core values are like ingrained and not like beat over your head. It's just like David says it all the time. We meet once a quarter as a collective group, all of the offices across Northeast Florida, even some of our processors that work remotely, we all get together and we share wins. We talk about some areas that we need some better coverage. We talk about what's going on in the market. I mean, when things were looking a little bit bleak for a little, a while, and maybe people were downsizing, David had those conversations with his team. He's really good at being a servant leader. And so when you are the head of a company and you get everybody believing in that, because I get asked that a lot about what is it like working with Heekin, or, I'm like, I drank the Kool-Aid. I did. Like, I'm all in. I understand what Landmark's mission is. Do we fall short? We're human. We ask for grace. But I'm always listening to what our real estate professionals want. And we go back through the channels and say, processing, I get to talk to our director of operations. This is some areas that I'm hearing. We talk it through. When it comes to the leadership side, closing room. I mean, we cook cookies every day so that when you come in to close on your house, whether you're buying a new home or you're selling it and it's a win-win, either way, you smell cookies. Everybody's smiling. We try to make sure that if you want, certain particular things in a room with you, like everything is thought through. It's kind of like, when you go to like a really nice hotel, I don't want to put us as a really nice hotel, but you just know that the standard is that I'm going to be at Relax, and it's going to be the same no matter if I'm in our Amelia Island office, I'm in our Durban office, I'm in Financial Way, which is obviously our operations hub, all the way down to West Palm, where Kelly is our concierge closer down there. Everything is the same, and it's supposed to be at a level of excellence. And so that is internally with our staff, and then externally on how we do business.
What one of the things I admired, and again, looking from the outside, the one thing I've noticed, well, in the real estate industry in general, we talk about social. There's people, like you said, down in West Palm. They've been basically basing off referrals. They've been in the business, whatever. They're killing it as far as anybody else is concerned. Do they really even need to do social media? That kind of thing. But when you came, titles, the back office, the lawyers are doing what they're doing is, maybe the technology has changed in what they're using, but what they're actually doing is still the same they've been doing for years. Now but from the marketing standpoint in our industry, did you feel when you got there and over the last 3 years, you really have like this blank portrait to do whatever, canvas to do whatever you want on, because the important thing, like I said, like building relationships, bringing in, obviously getting, face to face and shaking hands and that kind of thing. There's no holds barred.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, as a creative through and through, it's so nice to have that blank canvas, because we just start throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, and then we're like, we don't really want to do that anymore, or let's do this, but let's make it better the next time that we do it. I think marketing is key. I went to school for it. It's a science. You learn consumer behavior patterns. You start understanding. I mean, the first 6 months to a year for me, because I had never worked with a real estate agent before. I only worked with builders and developers, which are two totally different things than a real estate agent. And so I had to study what is a real estate agent. And so I would sit in on a lot of calls or in closing rooms or to try to get like, okay, this is what we're doing here. And then I realized when I would sit down title is not sexy, and it's super detailed and it's super important. And you are the last person at the end of the day to make sure that whatever this transaction look like, everybody's happy. So you got to go in there with a smile on your face, relax, have good bedside manner. And on our marketing side, we want to make sure that that carries over into all the other aspects of real estate, including making sure our real estate partners have all the tools that they need.
Hey folks, this episode was produced by Streamline Media, the #1 media company for helping brands generate content that converts. I knew I wanted to start a podcast to reach more people and bring value to the world, but I did not have the time or the knowledge. Streamline Media became my secret weapon to building my show. They handle all my back-end work, production, and strategies to keep my show going strong. If you're in the real estate business and looking to make content that generates more leads and brings in more revenue, check out the Streamline Media link in the show notes and discover how partnering up can supercharge your path to real estate excellence. From the marketing standpoint, you go to school, you're meeting real estate agents, which I can imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you're working with builders and developers, they're companies. Mm. You're dealing with some levels of management and,
all
people
numbers.
they're looking, hey, how do we want, whatever their project they're doing and how marketing is involved. When you're working with real estate agents, you're working with thousands of small business owners.
Oh yeah.
They're making a lot of the decisions themselves. They're not having to go back to a board or whatever. Right. And obviously some people do try to recreate the wheels. The new things are evolved. I guess where I wanted to go with the question, I don't want to make that statement, but where I wanted to go with the question is, with the marketing is marketing, but with the attention span, people, social media consistently changing, upgrading, better. Obviously, they're trying to keep people on their platforms. I mean, how are you staying in front of that? What are you doing? Because you love the social media and teaching it and helping others with it. What are you doing to try to stay in front? Because it's like the tide going out. You can't stop it. It's changing all that quickly. Yeah.
So there's a lot to unpack there. So first of all, when I look at the real estate world, you've got big box brokerages mixed with personal branding, and everybody's their own entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurs. And so for me to keep a step above is, number one, I follow a lot of people and try to constantly stay in the know of what's changing. I've got myself and other people on my team. Jess, who is our marketing director, her and I are always looking, okay, Canva's having a webinar, we need to sign up. Okay, one of our underwriters is having a webinar on technology in the title space and what they're marketing to realtors. We need to go on that. So we try to stay in the know with information that's coming out, because there is so much information coming out. I've started doing 75 hard. And so one of the things that I've told myself in that is one self-help book, one educational book in my sphere for work, one self-help, because we all need a lot of self-help. And then also I gave up. When you are going to be in this world, especially of social media, you just have to give up the thought process on trying to make it perfect. I just showcase this is what you see is what you get. So that allows me to put a lot of content out there. I put educational content out there. I put personality content out there. I put what I'm doing in life content out there, because I want to continue to have that human relationship interaction, but also, hey, I'm a business professional and this is what I'm really good at, if you'd like to utilize me in this area. And then also, but I think that we all could use some positivity online. So I try to dabble between the three. And when I do one-on-one, consulting or conversations with real estate professionals, my first thing is, why do you do what you do? And if it's just to make money, then okay, well, that's what your marketing is going to look like. And if it is to help people, or because it's a passion of mine, or I'm third or fourth generation in, whatever it is, I always say that needs to be part of your marketing story, because that's the part that's, if you are very passionate about your job and that why resonates here, it's going to come out through all of the channels. And I think because I'm so passionate about my job and social media as a whole and people, I think it's really people. It helps me stay in front of people because I put it out there. You know,
Right,
I mean,
right.
consistency is key when it comes to having an online presence. It's not like, oh, I did my one reel for the month, I'm good. No, you need to be constantly putting out there what you have going on, why you're doing it, and how you can help people, because that's what they're looking for.
What, I'm going to throw this question out here. It's not on my script at all. This is right out there. It's going to be, but you may not be able to just spill it all out at once, because it's going to probably take some thought, but maybe you've thought about this, or maybe it's right on the tip of your tongue. In the perfect world, what does that, I want to say the average, because we know there are some people that are, although I don't think I can't think of anyone right now. And as much as I study the social media, because I'm putting out the reels and everything from the show, and I'm seeing what everyone else is doing, I don't see anyone that I think is overdoing it. I do know who's consistent, because I see their stuff. I could, if you ask me, like, hey, what's 3 agents that you consistently see? I could probably, rattle off 6, but it doesn't go far beyond that.
Yeah.
What is in your world that's not too much to where it's a burden to their, they're doing more of that than actually meeting people and showing houses, but yet there's others that obviously haven't even got out the gate yet. What is that kind of like perfect in your world, what everyone should be doing as like a kind of a median?
Okay.
Social media.
Yeah, I would say there's no perfect answer, honestly, because everybody is a little bit different and their boundaries are different, and that is okay. Not everybody wants to put everything out about their life on social media.
There are some people that's too much information.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like, I'm totally, I think when you stop having fun with it, I think that's where, so you can't be scared with it, and when you stop having fun with it, those are that somewhere in between those two things, that's the perfect parameter, because everybody's a little bit different. I think that it's more so what your content looks like that would be, instead of the amount of time. They say 3, they say 6 times. Your stories are where you humanize yourself, that behind the scenes of you. I know of an agent that goes and has to pick weeds sometimes, and she'll do it around other properties near a listing that she's trying to sell. I'll be posting that stuff on social media because it's hilarious. Like, that is the day in the life of a real estate agent. So peppering in, I would not have constant just sold, signs, or constant, of just those marketing pieces. You need to have like those 3 in there, a little bit of that humanizing, your solution-based stuff, whether it's with your vendor partners again, or, talking about know your market, and then talk about ways to help, especially your buyers, when it comes to specific loan packages or programs that are out there that can help combat with whatever the problem is in the market right now. So make sure that you're a solution-based person. And then what you do, why you're an expert at what you do. I think you have to pepper in all 3. But as far as like that perfect, everybody's a little bit different. So what it looks like for them is different.
All right, I'm gonna press my opinion on you and rephrase it into a question.
Okay.
Because I know I had Matt Maniak on last week, and we're working on some things, and I know you talked to him about getting a real hands-on social media, like how to actually do a reel from start to finish type of thing, or create a script and do that, just to really get some people.
That's my next class.
Get out of the gate. And so we've been talking about that. But one thing I think is, in your opinion on this, I don't feel enough agents are using YouTube enough from this standpoint, because you used a word there a minute ago that rang with me and what I'm trying to say. You want to build this library, so in my opinion, that someone Googles you, there's a video that tells them about you. Maybe it's this podcast, right? To get to know you. That's why I always tell the agents, this is going to be out there. Someone Googles you, this podcast is going to come up about you. Those little, you see some of the top agents, some from South Florida, that are consistently using YouTube with their reels, because it's like a library where the Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok gets buried. Someone doesn't go on there and say, how do you buy an investment property? I mean, that's a YouTube question,
right?
And what I find, in my opinion, there is very small percentage of agents that they've got some YouTube videos. Most of them are years old, but they're not creating just those simple things that we could sit down right here at the table and whip 10 things off, and have 10 short little 2-minute videos on how. What's the process after you make an offer? Whatever, all the different things that break down the process that is knowledge. Or, as we know, some of our, Josh is using, there's some other agents that are going around the neighborhoods. I'm starting to see some of that. They're doing that regularly. So when those neighborhoods are searched, boom, their videos popping up.
Yeah, so I would say, just like anything else, find your niche when it comes to this. You don't have to, in the beginning, especially if you are not consistent online, get really good in one area. I feel like if you're not comfortable on camera and education, maybe not, you're kind of just tiptoeing in. Yeah, that might not be the best platform for you right out the gate. I hear what you're saying. I mean, honestly, if you can do video content creation 10 minutes long, then break it down into a short and then put it on social media platforms, then you're on like 4, 5, 6 different outlets. However, not everybody's going to do that. Not everybody has a social media department or whatever that looks like. So I think I would utilize, some people are really good at Facebook. One of the things, Megan Farrell Nelson was talking about that, about her private Facebook groups and how they've grown, finding like-minded people in her community, and then they just blew up. So that might be somebody that's not as comfortable being on video all the time, but can go in there and have a private section to have conversations where, like, we're a military town. I was talking about this in West Palm, trying to wrap their head around that. Northeast Florida, there's a lot of military bases here. You'll see some of these agents that are military relocation specialists. They've got private groups to military families that move back and forth. So not only are they getting the listings when they have to sell the home, they're working with their friends that refer them here when they're buying the home. That's kind of their niche. So if you are somebody that's really into aesthetically pleasing images, Instagram might be more for you. You can dabble in the video, have the reels, have, a carousel of photos on there where you talk over, but you don't have to have your face. I mean, you just have whatever you're comfortable with. There's so many platforms right now that you should really focus on that area and let that become your niche and become really good at that. And then layer on it as you become more and more comfortable. I think it's really just getting people to get outside of their comfort zone and just start.
Well, yeah, we know that's.
And I mean, there are some that are really good at it, but I mean, some of us grew up with cell phones in our hands and some of us grew up with no cell phones. I came in between the two. I mean, I started social media with MySpace.
I would say that, so for those who, yes, grew up with cell phones, watch Air, the how Michael Jordan and Nike hooked up. That's a great movie. When you look at the technology, the computers they had, and the fact, they're using handsets.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
My first cell phone was like a box that flipped down, and the thing went all the way up, and it was like scary.
The funny part in that movie is where he rents a car and goes to Michael Jordan's house and talks to the parents. Well, the father, when they finally meet up at Nike to make a presentation, the father's going, "Hey, man, you still got that car with the phone?" That was like, to have the phone in the car was,
you were real cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now we're all cool. Yeah. Thanks to the power of.
How, I'm sure you see it out there. Here's the question that I put in. You've been 3 years now, you've been around, and especially the last year when you're regularly around a group of agents consistently every week. You can only, when you're going out and doing one-offs or, maybe doing little things, you only see some. But now with the training room, you have people coming to you, and you're also still going outside and doing events. So you're seeing a lot more people on a weekly basis. So you accelerated that. What are some of the things that you are seeing between what you know are some of the top producers versus some who are, I use the word struggling, and they maybe that's what, there are some people that are okay kind of doing it more or less part-time. They sell a half a dozen houses and they're okay with, but there are some people that are only selling a half a dozen houses that really would like to be doing 15, 20 or more, but they're struggling, don't know where. What are you seeing as some of the common 2 or 3 things that you see difference between those two groups of people?
So I will say, I'm going to use my son as an example because he wants to get his real estate license. And so as a mom that's not a real estate agent, I want to talk to him as a brand new agent or anybody else. Find a mentor. If you are somebody that's been in the business and maybe you got in during COVID when a lot of people everybody was getting their license at the time, find a mentor. Find somebody that you like what they're doing business-wise. I've met most everybody in the top 2% around here. They're all awesome. They're all sweet as can be, super humble individuals, and they're aggressive and they're good at business. So find somebody that you see that, inspires you and reach out to them, because you can reach out to them online, and state, hey, I really like what you're doing. I love to chat with you for 30 minutes, buy them a cup of coffee and pick their brain, because there's no better asset than somebody that's been doing what you want to do and has been doing it for a while and has been successful. So that would be one of the things that I would tell my son is, see do your research, see who's been doing consistently the work, the numbers are showcasing, they're matching online what they're doing on paper, you know what I'm saying? Because it's easy on the internet to, I could drive a Ferrari
they are
around
trying
and be like,
yeah.
But make sure that, their words and actions line up. And hey, if you're still faking it till you make it, good luck to you. And then educate yourself. That's what you're in the world of, educating your buyers and sellers on why they should be doing what they're doing, on why they need to listen to you as the expert in your field. So educate yourself on stuff. Go to every teaching, every training that you can, become well versed in this area, know your contract in and out, and make sure that you are lining up with people that are going up, because that's the only way for you to continue to swim up that path too.
Couple things from there. Simple one, you've seen the networking of the agents within themselves, different brokerages, whatever. How important is it, that agent that's just getting started? Twofold. One, those top producing agents if you ask them, they will have coffee with you.
Yeah.
Mark down the one that says no.
Right.
And if one says no, it might be because they just got something going on right now and call somebody else. But they'll sit down with you and actually, find out how they're doing their business. But how important have you seen, not only from just doing business transactions with each other as agents on either side, but just in their own personal business when they're hanging out with other top agents, stealing some tips and tricks from them. Maybe it's something they're doing. Hey, I started doing this and got more, but just, talking industry jargon and just improving their business by hanging out with better people.
Those are my favorite rooms to be in, honestly, is those high-level masterminds where iron sharpening iron, because when you get into a room full of that where people are openly sharing knowledge and expertise and what they've gone through, no two people are the same. So, they're not in some aspects reinventing the wheel. They're just repackaging it differently because it's based on who they are and what their business model is. So you get to see, and not a lot of times you guys are working with each other across the closing table. Why would you not want to, collaborate and see how you guys can get to, have good communication style and work together nicely? So the masterminds are definitely my favorite rooms to sit in, because it's a lot of very smart, talented people sharing what's working for them and other people picking it up and running with it, and vice versa, talking about nightmares from the closing table and things that they've dealt with. And, somebody else might be saying, oh, okay, well, I was able to do that. Then you pepper in, and that's why when we do stuff like that at our office, I like to have one of our attorneys or experienced closers there, because then they can also add, when we were having appraisal gaps, some of our attorneys could talk about, the appraisal gap addendum and how to correctly state that. Whatever's going on in the market right now, you should be continuously talking, because there could be somebody that's been in the industry 20, 30 years that could say, hey, because it is cyclical in some areas. I've seen this before back in 1998 or 2003 or, before the crash, after the crash. You need to be in a room with people that are going to rise you to the next level.
Right. Well, because would you agree, every agent I talk about a lot on the show with the agents is finding your little niche marketing, what works for you.
Right.
Maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's knocking on doors. Somewhere in between there, You're going to find something you like to do, but you don't know all the things that you can do.
Right.
And by sitting and talking to some of these people, or we've talked about panels and our opinions on panels before, but even you go to a panel, typically the agents up there are actually chosen because they are successful in their own world, and obviously will draw people in. Maybe the information actually with the panel doesn't really do anything for you, but to actually go up and actually shake their hand, and then when you message them or ask them right there, hey, can we have coffee sometime? You got them face to face. It's hard for them to turn you down, and it's a lot easier for them to say yes if you message them later, because they now know, hopefully remember who you were.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we Breakfast of Champions recently, panel wise, not one of those agents was even remotely the same. I mean, we tried to pick very different. Megan came up from Palm Coast, she's the queen in that city. We had Haley, who's very different. Think Architectural Digest on her Instagram. I mean, swoon-worthy photos.
Right.
Mike Rolowitz, everybody's knows him. He's very prominent on social media. And then, my gosh.
Josh Rogers.
Yes, Josh Rogers. We were just talking about
Didn't forget you, Josh. Didn't forget you.
And his YouTube videos and stuff, and, kind of how he does social media. Everybody's different. And I think that there's a lot to learn, because it's something for everyone. And so you might not gravitate towards one agent and what they're doing, but there's so many of them, and you might like how they're doing this, but you like how somebody else is doing that. And I would just pull from all of it.
What is it you enjoy? I actually enjoy teaching social media, but really, I think you really enjoy what you're doing. Mm-hmm. What are I mean, I would imagine you enjoy getting up each day knowing what's out there. What is it though? If you can express, I kind of think I know. At least I know why I would like it. I think obviously having a great boss that allows you to, express yourself, or you use your knowledge, and he obviously doesn't shoot you down too much. But I imagine occasionally he must have to say no. But
it's okay. I'm really good at debating.
But what is it? Interacting with the agents. Obviously, Landmark giving you the platform. What is it that really motivates you, and really why you enjoy what you're doing?
I really enjoy people. Honestly, I love getting to have one-on-one time with all of our agents and getting to learn them on a different level. I like the relationship marketing aspect. I think that that's a lost art form, but it's something that really has to be done in real estate, because you work with so many people. I love hearing their stories of how they became. There's so many, from teachers to first responders to stay-at-home moms that decided that they wanted to try something different, to classical composers, to folks that have sold, this is, part 2 of their life. They've sold their big businesses and this is what they're doing.
Right.
There's so many different personalities in our space, and unique and talented in so many areas. So I love getting to know them more, and it helps because on the business side of it, I know what's important to them, and so then I can make sure that when they're working with a team that we talk about them one-on-one, and we say, this person's really big on communication. This person just wants an attorney to do all of their stuff, and they just want to know it's good, it's handled. This person wants a very bubbly person at the closing table with champagne and make their life happy. So it helps on that aspect as well. So my favorite part about my job is getting just to know people and what they like and what they don't like.
Because I can imagine, all those things you just added on there. I didn't, a little bit of common sense, but not obvious.
Right.
Like you said, to some of the best businesses out there, they're paying attention. Obviously the trends, obviously technology sometimes tells why are they in our phones, right? They want to know what we're looking at so they can provide those services. And the fact that you are taking notes, and if you do have some of these people that are a little more eccentric from the standpoint, just call me when it's ready, or hey, I need to be called every other day.
I need to know update.
Yeah.
And there are people that like that. And you know what? That's cool. Everybody's different. I am not the same as somebody else. So we try to we have a system that allows us to put notes in there on that. I don't think that everybody understands how it, with a business, that behind the scenes stuff, because you just want the finished product. But there's a lot of thought process that goes into that, and making sure that the landmark name stays true to what we're all about.
Well, knowing from the lending side, agents, their loyalty is, not criticizing you guys. I don't want anyone those listening to you, Tracy, you're a jerk. But the reality is the typical agent, their loyalty is very thin. If one deal goes south, it could not be your problem. They're, and their customer, of course, they don't know who to blame, right? Something went wrong, and they're blaming, the agent wants to blame whatever, if it's the lender, they're off to somewhere else. But to build that longevity of loyalty, like obviously anybody, whether you're a real estate agent or a title company, you want to build that longevity by having the champagne at closing. If that's what they like to do, those little things add up. The agent might not be thinking that, but because you do that, they're like, when something does go wrong, they're like, oh, do I want to give up the champagne at closing? I can forget that happens and move on. You're building that longer relationship because you are getting behind the scenes and doing the little, Disney World type stuff that's going on that we don't even know that's going on.
Yeah, it's important. You want your agent to look good at the closing table, and so that's what our job is. And all of our closers do a fantastic job of that. And to smile, to diffuse any situation, answer any of the questions, and then I come in for any additional things that is needed to make sure that everybody's happy. And we just want everybody to leave. Sometimes it can get tense, always that divorced couples or, other things that happen that are sad. But for the most part, it's a happy thing. We take photos, and, we've got the keys, and everybody's happy.
Right. Well, I've said this before. When I know landmarks on it, I know there's if there was an issue, 99% of the time I never even knew about it. You guys solved it, and you went on. Because calling me and telling me about it, I'd be like, okay, great. What are you gonna do about it?
Right.
And you guys go and nip in the bud, and everybody. Well, you guys look at the professionals that you are there. Anything you want to add, Brit, to our conversation here today we didn't talk about? I know you have this book here that you're reading.
Yes, so I brought this book. It's called The Practice. I started reading it a while ago, and I guess I didn't retain anything. So I'm going to read it again. It's basically it goes into talking about yourself first as a creative, and then how it can be peppered through every part of your life, including marketing. So it's a really good book. It's called The Practice. I highly recommend it if you're a little stale right now, or, maybe sometimes the days in and out can get a little mundane, or you just need a little spark of creativity. I know that I need that little scenery change, so it's a good injection there.
Is there anything you've been to, read, or anything recently you'd recommend to anyone?
So I took these notes recently that I wanted to share that I thought would be really good when it comes to the top social media trends for 2023.
Okay.
So first is that they're stating that TikTok is going to take over the world. So if you are on it, it is the number one search engine. It surpassed Google.
I'm trying to figure that out. Explain to me TikTok as a search engine. I do realize people go on there like they would on, they do on YouTube, like, hey, I want to fix this.
They can do that. They can do it for fixing stuff, cooking stuff, trends, hacks. There's like the life hacks. I think it's just because of the fact that it's just such short form, video that, and it's just, they just mindlessly scroll through it all the time.
Because I've never gone in there and actually searched. Maybe I should try that to see what people are doing in using in that
Just don't
platform.
search up cat videos, because then it's going to be in your algorithm.
And I do get the Yorkie videos on Instagram. I get them all the time.
I was going to say, one thing that you had stated earlier is about seeing the same agents over and over again online. If you interact with this, and some people know this, some people don't, but if you interact with the same people over and over again, it's going to pick up on Facebook and Instagram. Oh, okay, Tracy really likes these people, so it's going to continue to show you content. Make sure that if you are looking at agents either out of state or in other areas in Florida that you like their social media influence and you want to copy it in your own way, which is a huge form of flattery, so no shame in your game. Make sure that you are continuously liking and commenting on their stuff so you keep seeing it, because basically the algorithm picks up just who you are, So if you only talk to the same 10 people, you're probably only going to see the same 10 people.
Then you probably want to stretch it out, because obviously agents are using it not to show to other agents. They're hopefully showing to future clients or past clients, and to stay top of mind, to make sure you're interacting with their, things that they're posting.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only new app that will really matter, they're believing in 2023, is Be Real. I know that it's very popular with the youngsters. It's that one photo a day. So that is a trend. You're going to still have to make reels. I was reading an article where reels from July to October of 2022 picked up 62%. And then Gary Vee, if you don't follow Gary Vee, go follow him right now. Sorry for the cussing. But he talks a lot about social media trends. He's really good at marketing. He does a lot of TED Talks, blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that he does talk about is that people have been sleeping on the Facebook Reels. There is a huge audience out in Facebook Reels. People got obsessed over the Instagram ones and, taking the TikTok videos to Instagram, but they weren't putting them on Facebook. And you can recommend, but you can also just upload them yourself. So if you're not utilizing Facebook Reels, please start utilizing Facebook Reels.
I'm going to make a statement on that. Go ahead.
Clubhouse is going to die, and social audio will get more niche.
Do you know anyone still using Clubhouse?
I don't think so. So, see, it's already dead. LinkedIn is going to become a lot more about jobs. That's one thing that we're going to get heavily into. Don't know what that means.
Yeah, be more about what is it not about jobs?
I mean, it's really already, I think it's going to still continue to be that educational accolade type, social market. But who knows what the social aspect has definitely picked up on it. So,
marketers are definitely using it. I mean, they're hitting me all the time. They see the thing, they want to do my video editing or whatever. They're hitting me from that standpoint. But I always saw LinkedIn. It's great for PR statements. There's Matt Ishba from United Wholesale put something out there the other day. I'm like, why did you say that? But he did. But it comes up. But I guess people are. Well, when you're looking at wanting to work or find out who works for somebody at some level. I mean, I dig into LinkedIn to see if I can find the path.
The first time I was on here, because I hadn't looked at I was at Landmark. I wasn't looking for a job. I hadn't really cleaned it up in a while, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn, LinkedIn is basically like your online calling card when it comes to like your business aspect and what you're good at and where you've been and longevity.
If you want a one-pager that tells everybody a little bit about you and where you've been, that's LinkedIn.
Gen Z is going to redefine, which it already has, UGC, which is user-generated content. More and more companies are seeing that personal branding by somebody that's the regular Joe Schmo off the street is much more powerful than those big box ones that they used to do with, actors, models, blah, blah, blah. So user-generated content is going to continue to evolve and change, which is why
come on, dig into, expand on that a little bit.
I'm considered somebody that creates my own content. I'm a digital creator. It gives me a lot more bells and whistles on Facebook and Instagram to do it that way. A lot more organic eyeballs. No, I haven't paid for the check mark. I refuse to do it out of principle.
How much do you have to pay for it? I see more people getting it.
I think it's like $14 a month or something. I'm just not doing it. No, not right now.
No.
I know that there's like a hack thing, but also you can do the 2-factor authentication code. I mean, like at that point you can tell if somebody, I did have somebody recently do a spam account. It was so annoying. But yeah, user-generated content, that's what it is going to evolve and change. But I mean, like look at all your influencers and stuff like that. or social SEO is going to replace hashtags. So the era of hashtags are leaving. Make sure that you are using your closed captioning on your reels and any of your informative content. That's going to be your SEO. Social commerce will continue to grow despite confusing signals from networks. This was my favorite. You're going to have to start telling your millennial coworkers to stop using GIFs. GIFs are old. I love a good GIF in a minute. Yeah. I'm not giving it up. No. Millennials till I die. And then last is more and more billionaires will continue to buy more social networks. But really the things to take away from that is TikTok is not going to stop. I'm not the biggest fan of TikTok, probably because I have so many teenagers at home and I just don't want them on it. But I understand the power of it and I know how successful it has been for agents. So if that is your wheelhouse, continue doing it. It's not going anywhere. Keep up with the user-generated content. Make sure that you are online. You don't want to get lost online. So keep putting your stuff out there. Keep playing around. Keep going to all of the classes that you can find out about it. Don't stop, because I feel like it's no different than, I think I said this the other day, like when you first learned math in school, like you had to do algebra before you could go to the
geometry,
next. It's the same thing. If you stop and you don't start somewhere, you're going to get lost in the mix, and then you're going to be paying somebody to do it for you when a lot of it you could do yourself. There's a lot of power in these things.
Well, I would say this to that is hopefully you get going. I had Krista Mashore on. I'm sure we'll talk about it after the show, because I did talk to her about possibly doing a webinar and mentioned you. That you do become successful from the standpoint that you do have a marketing team. You're creating the content because you want to be in the content, but then you're letting those people that like to sit behind the desk make it look good. And then, as Matt Maniak and I were talking about, the omnipresence.
Yeah.
One of the things, we were talking about this social media 101 reels, how to create. That reel is, as the reels that come from the show, I post them on Facebook, I post them on Instagram, and everything goes to YouTube. So it's the same reel. Don't go to TikTok and then bring it over with the TikTok, because TikTok immediately puts their logo on there. Yeah. They don't like that, people. I always want to tell everyone I see it. But it only takes a few seconds to do, because most people, I think, have Facebook and then something else. Right. They're doing it. But I really do think everyone...
Which if you have Facebook, you should have Instagram, and you should have the two cross-sharing. That's like, boom, bam, done.
If you, and anyone still listening at this point, if you need help in like YouTube, I can handle YouTube because it's really simple. It doesn't really take much to post it as a short. There's only a few things you just want to say, hashtag shorts. But it generally, if it knows it's under a minute, it knows it's a short and it already puts it there. And then what's really good about, I think, YouTube is, if you're showing a house, like we know some of the agents like to do, post on Instagram or whatever, they're going through this house. When you go to YouTube, put the neighborhood in in the title. So if someone 3 years from now is going, I want to move into Beacon Lakes, you were showing a house in Beacon Lakes and you're going to pop up, type of thing. So you could take that video and as the word is omnipresence, I guess, and cross it over to multiple platforms. I was using TikTok, but I noticed, quickly went to 200 views and then it died. I don't know if it was doing much. I guess I could go back in there and just keep, plugging it, but the amount of content that comes from the show. So, yeah.
Just stay consistent. That's really the biggest.
100%. But I think the other thing is you were saying too is you keep going. You're not, and there's so much knowledge out there. Brit and I will never know all of it. We try to at least stay relevant. Yeah, that's the word. Stay relevant in it
somewhere.
But you don't really need to be a master. And I'm going to drop Krista Mashore again. I'm going to share some of the stuff with you after the show, because that's the way she built her market. It's much Josh Rogers does a microcosm of what she does, and when you average over 100 homes a year, and now of course she's a big funnel person going all around and speaking and coaching, and her brother runs the real estate business. She's still the face. She still shoots those videos, but that's what she does all day, is because of course she found a spot that she loves. And being a digital marketing expert. So yeah,
good stuff.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate you.
Fun as always.